When it comes to car safety and our kids, there are some important safety guidelines every parent should follow. With as much time as we spend in our cars, parents have to be sure they're using the right car seat for their child. Here's Bree Dennis and car seat safety technician Becky Levin with more.
Hi, I'm with Becky Levin. Now, you're such an expert in your field. I was wondering if you can provide some helpful pointers for me when I'm selecting a car seat for my children.
Sure, I'm happy to help. Thanks for having me here today.
Okay, so let's talk car seats. There are so many types out there.
There are. For a toddler, there are 5 types of car seats you can use forward-facing. All of them are equally safe. The first is a forward-facing only seat. There's a harness that's used only in the forward-facing mode. The second is a convertible seat. You use it rear-facing for infants and then turn it to forward-facing when a child's big enough. The third is a combination seat. This you use forward-facing with a harness, and then when the child's outgrown that, you remove the harness to use it as a booster seat. Then there are some vehicles that have integrated or built-in seats. And lastly is a travel vest. Looks kind of like a life vest or a parachute. The child puts this on and then the seat belt from the vehicle runs through it. These can fit kids from 20 to 168 pounds.
So how long should a child stay in a forward-facing car seat?
Well, it's best to keep your child in the forward-facing car seat as long as possible. Most kids should be at least 4 years old, and most forward-facing seats have a weight limit of 40 to 65 pounds.
Okay, is that all we need to know?
Well, there are 3 key things to keep in mind when you're trying to see if your child is ready to move out of a forward-facing seat. The first is if she outgrows either the height or the weight limit recommended by the manufacturer of the seat. She's ready to move out. The second is if her ears are above the top of the seat, then she's outgrown it. And the third is if her shoulders are above the harness slots, the top harness slots in the seat, then she's outgrown it.
So if my child has even one of those, the child is grown out of the car seat then?
That's right. She's outgrown her forward-facing seat that she has. But some kids aren't quite behaviorally ready to move to a booster seat at that point. In that case, you'd want to get a forward-facing seat that has a higher weight limit. There are seats available that have weight limits above 65 pounds that can be used for bigger kids.
So how do I figure out the height and weight limit for the seat?
Well, on the seat, there will be a label that tells you the height and weight limit, so you can look at that. You can also check the owner's manual for the seat, and that'll have the height and weight limit on it.
Okay, so once my child has grown out of their forward-facing seat, then we move into the booster seat, right?
That's right. You want to use the right kind of seat. You don't want your child to be in a seat too long or not long enough. You want to make sure they're safe and comfortable all the time.
So it's important to know when to make that change.
Yes, most kids are ready to move to a booster seat when they're about 4 years old.
So there are many types of forward-facing seats. Are there numerous types of boosters as well?
There are 2 kinds of booster seats.
Okay.
There are backless booster seats. You can use these in vehicles that have headrests or high seat backs in the back seat. There are also high back booster seats. You can use these in any kind of car. If your vehicle has a low seat back or doesn't have headrests, then you have to use a high back booster seat.
Okay, so we use a booster seat when the child's either too tall or too heavy for the forward-facing seat. That's simple enough. Now, what about second-hand seats? I know a lot of parents have questions about that.
Well, it's best to avoid using one if you can. If you need to use one, there are a few things you need to check. First, you should know the history of the seat. Make sure it hasn't been in a moderate or severe crash. You should also make sure that the seat has all of its parts and the instruction manual, and that there's no visible damage on the seat. Then you need to make sure the seat hasn't been recalled. You can find this information on the website of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. And lastly, if you need more help, you can always talk to a certified child passenger safety technician like me. You can find one at www.seatcheck.org or on the Safe Kids website.
I'm so glad you came out here today, Becky. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
These are the 3 things that I really learned from you coming here. Number 1, use a forward-facing safety seat as long as possible. Number 2, when your child outgrows their forward-facing seat, use a booster seat. Number 3, avoid using a second-hand safety seat.
Remember, all children should ride in the back seat until at least age 13, and be sure to check the safety seat label and owner's manual to see if your seat is the right size for your child. With just a few simple steps, you can be sure your child is riding safely in your car.